Go.
Meeting called to order. Today is Tuesday, September 18th, Town Council. Meeting at Town Council Chambers, 1170 Main
on,
Street,
Ernie.
West Warwick, Rhode Island.
Councilman Licciardi,
Here.
Councilman Messier,
Here.
Councilman Padula,
Here.
Council Vice President D'Amico,
Here.
Council President Goslin.
Here.
There is a quorum. Discussion action, summer ice proposal.
Laurie?
Can I ask a question regarding something other than summer ice proposal right now?
Can I put that on top of that? Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Same thing I emailed you all last night. Just a copy of this proposal.
I got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As Laurie, as it was requested from Councilman Padula last meeting, she wanted to know how much it was per hour to run the ice rink. So Laurie, if you want to walk right through this real quick.
All right, so basically, I went to finance, I got the numbers based on a 359-day year, because we do close for some holidays, not all holidays, but 6 major holidays, we do close for the year. Based on the estimate, which was the budget for the FY18 year, that was $625,000, which would have, based on the billable hours for the facilities, it would have been $108.81 per hour to run the facilities. The actual numbers for the FY18 that came in were $518,000 and change, and which made it approximately $90.28 per hour to run the Civic Center. In FY18, after everything was said, done, paid for, we had a surplus of $48,597,000. My understanding, numbers might be off a few years, but in 28 years, that is the first time that the Civic Center finished the year with a surplus. So, I mean, the numbers were all based from Finance Department, the wages, expenses, supplies, insurance, equipment. The equipment is the lease for the Zamboni. If you do follow along to 19, that the Zamboni does go down drastically because it is paid off in fiscal year 19. So for this year, based on the estimated budget for the year, the hourly cost is $117.10 per hour of billable hours to run the Civic Center.
So what this is saying for 18 is it costs us $108.81 per hour to run it.
That was the estimate. That was the
And
budget.
and we collected $90 and
No. Once the numbers all came in, then that's what it was. So once all our expenses were paid, once all our wages were paid, and everything based on that. So we were under our budget.
So what are we gonna average per hour profit, say around 70, 80 bucks an hour?
This year for FY19, right now, it's at $117.10.
That's the profit?
No, that's the billable hours.
That's the billable hours, right?
Yes,
But-
that's how much we have to, per the billable hours, that's how much it costs to
Right,
run
so in other
the
words,
facility as whole.
this is gonna be 24,000 a year for 3 years. They're taking it for what, 13 weeks? Is that what it was? 13 hours over 9 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
I'm just trying to get a sense of, based on what we're taking in, excuse me, versus what we're putting out per hour, what's the hourly profit?
That's it.
I'll take the 117 minus it from the two.
Well, that's what I did, and that's why I'm asking, is it about 70 to 80 bucks profit per hour?
Yeah.
213,
And based
I got
on,
206
117.
as a number.
Yes, 206 is
206,
what the
206,
hockey,
right?
what the hockey league is trying to pay per hour. So they're
Right.
asking, right now the rate is $2.20 per hour, and they're asking for a $13.85 reduction in the price for the 13 weeks,
In the summer.
yeah, for
Right.
the 9 weeks, 13 hours.
Okay.
I'm just
Check.
curious, where did they come up with that random figure? Why
It
not, like,
is
a
based off of
$15
what
break
they're paying at another facility. So they're bringing their program here. They're
Right.
bringing their program to our, and it's just more for convenience because a lot of their members are from West Warwick, Coventry, Exeter, West Greenwich. So it's just basically they're trying to cater to their
So
families.
that number is the number they're paying somewhere else?
So we're
That's
we're
why
matching
that's
it
why it's the arbitrary number,
Yeah.
okay.
And they're gonna be requesting 6 more hours
During
during the
the
winter
winter.
month at the regular cost.
at the regular rate. Yes.
So, I mean, it's either empty or not empty.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody?
I understand all this, and I'm for bringing business in, 100%. I have the same questions that I did last time. If we're gonna, and I'm not opposed to giving them a break at all, whether it's $13 or an hour or 20, it's irrelevant. It's the next group that comes in, trying to be proactive. Is there a plan in place for, use a term I used last time, like a pigeonhole? They're on a sheet, they book for so many hours or so many years, and they have this rate. Because another group's gonna come in and do the same. If I was another group, I would be
Oh,
coming in,
absolutely would too.
who's already there. I'm gonna be saying, all right, wait a minute, that's great, but what's my break?
But again, if they're using it during the summer months, that's the least amount of time any ice rink's being used. So that would be a question of, do we have a summer rate versus a winter rate? Because the winter rate, let's face it, you can't get enough ice time
No.
up there. We don't have enough ice time
Right,
in the
but
leagues.
I'm just saying, let's
just
have
feel
it
like
now, you know, I mean, we should have had it now.
This
just-
is my thought process of it. This league is willing to stay with us year round at this point. So I feel that we should take care of them on the off months if they're going to stay with us year round. I mean, they're renting a ton of ice time.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. If you want to give them more of a break, I don't care. It's just a matter of putting it down and put it in a tiered system, I guess. Put it on paper.
We
You
can
know?
I can definitely work out something to come up with that, and you know,
Except
I
for-
can
except for
revisit
this
it with
one, I
Ernie
mean,
and Kristen.
This was
Oh,
one
that's fine,
organization,
please.
sorry. This organization kind of came with this number. I mean,
Yeah.
if another organization says we want 13 weeks in the summer and they're available, I mean, I think it's a case by, I understand what you're saying, but
So, I don't know, I disagree with it. I'm not disagreeing with giving it to them, I'm disagreeing with not being proactive. I think we should learn at this point, everybody's talking about moving forward and not looking back, but I think we're making a mistake here of not having prepared this in it for the future. Everybody can disagree, agree. So it's a case by
Again,
case, so everything's a case by
I'm
case
not saying
basis,
it's a
right?
case by case. I'm saying, we don't even
Well,
know
you
how many
just
of the
did.
leagues want it in the summer. He said it, I didn't.
Okay, so what do you mean case by case?
if somebody comes to us and says, hey, can we get 13 weeks and we're going to come all the summer, like this specific instance, I don't know how many people are going to do that. I mean, it's not a bad idea to have it in writing, but if somebody comes to us and go, we want to pay full price in the summer, then,
Well, it's a business. I mean,
If you-
we're
if you're- if you
treating
were-
this as a business.
I mean, if you're like if you're at a pizza place and somebody goes, we're having a party, we want like 30 pizzas, we want to get a special, and then they, you know what I mean, you don't always give them
But that's their business, though.
Yeah.
This is the town.
Okay,
This is our business.
Okay.
We're in charge here, right? We're on the hook,
okay.
basically. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? We're not.
No, you're on the hook.
We're on the hook, right? So,
What you're basically saying is you want a standardized
yes.
system.
I don't think there's anything wrong with
I get
that. It's the same thing as if you're going to fill out a form to rent a field, to get a dog license, to get a marriage license, to get a business license, correct? We fill out the form. We read it, we fill it out, we know what's gonna happen, correct?
So my question would be like, how many hours would you think that they would need to get?
It's
the-
not up,
I'm just asking you, I'm asking you.
I'm not, I haven't even thought that far ahead,
Okay.
because that's not my
Well, again,
position.
This is one league that's coming before us right now who wants to know, are we gonna honor this at this rate? That's what this is about. This isn't, so, what, I understand what you want, but that's something that Lori, now, Al's already working on fees, so that's something Lori and Al can work on a later date. This is one league coming forward right now that needs an answer. I understand what you want, Jay, and it's.
Well, I said it
it's
2 weeks
total-
ago.
I totally understand it, but again, this, and you asked for this, it was asked for this information, now we got this information with how much per hour. There's still a profit being made, or you can let somebody sit up there, do nothing for those 13 weeks and get paid to do nothing. It's,
Did our DPW, Dave, did you go through this? Were you part of this process?
Dave, just come on up to the mic.
Seeing you're in charge. I'm sure you had this at Mickey Stevens Complex.
Yes, and we did the same thing at Mickey Stevens. We would give breaks to Warwick Junior Hockey in off-seasons, you know, it's just a thing we do across the industry. And I don't see a problem with setting a rate at some point, but I would say it'd be in our best interest, get this customer in, and if we do gather more interest, that's when we sit down and get serious about setting some rates. Summertime, wintertime. Winter's not a problem. She's gonna sell that ice, you know. You can't get ice anywhere in the state in the winter, but summertime, you're not selling ice anywhere. We take a rink right out in the summertime, we leave it empty, so, in Warwick. I keep saying we, I'm part of West Warwick now, but, sorry, it'll take me a little while. But yeah, so, in my opinion, I'd say get this group in there, and I agree with the councilman, at some point, we're gonna have to set a rate for summertime.
I would also agree. I think that we
Thank
take
you.
this opportunity, because it is an opportunity, and we're gonna make
Yeah.
some money. And I do agree that at some point it should be standardized.
Al?
I think that because we move fees from ordinance to resolution, I think the council has the authority to set it in this case. I would suggest that you mentioned the summer, winter, that you don't go too far forward without putting it into the fee schedule, so that you don't run into a situation where, as Jason said, this one's one place, this one's another place, separate resolutions for each one.
Yep, thank you. Any other comment? Hearing none, I'll take a roll call vote. Jay?
What exactly we voting?
The summer ice proposal for this group,
For this particular group,
yes.
has nothing to do with moving forward. I'm for bringing this group in,
No, it's for this
yes.
group.
For this
So
group,
she
I'm
needs
for bringing
direction
this
to
group.
move forward with
Yep.
this group. Yes?
Yes.
Angela?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
John?
Yes,
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Garbage pickup, sponsored by Councilman Padula.
Yes, I received numerous calls, starting to pick up garbage 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning when there's a holiday on a Monday. They're there Saturdays, and a lot of the constituents, it's the only day they get to sleep, and I see their frustration. They're banging the barrels. I mean, we had this one time at 7, and I remember we changed it to 6.
Yeah.
But 6 o'clock means they're there at 5:30.
Yeah. No, this was brought up to me, and I know I sent over an email to the DPW Director, Mr. Picozzi, and he responded next day that he was working on it. No, we did, this was before us, less than a year ago. They are not to start until 6 a.m. And that is part of their contract, 6 a.m. on. Now, they should not be entering the town until 6 a.m., not stop picking up at 5:30, and I fully agree. And I know Dave said he was gonna work on it, we're just waiting for a response back.
I actually missed my trash pickup this week. They were there at about 6:15. So if they're in the middle of Nottingham at
Right.
6:15, what time did they start?
5, quarter past
Probably
5.
they
And
had
that's
to.
where the constituents have a problem.
Yeah,
And
that's,
then not to mention what they're missing. They're going like a bat out of hell, and they keep missing these certain ones, and I had to keep calling for the same address. I don't know. It's just, seems like they start off like gangbusters. Like you said 5 years ago when I was against privatizing garbage. You said, don't do it. They're gonna get us in a predicament where you're gonna be forced into going back in-house. And you were exactly right.
well, Councilman, in this case, we received a couple of calls too, and Nicole has been in touch with the contractor. And I think the problem you run into on Saturdays, the landfill dictates the time you can pick up your garbage, holidays and whatnot. They close early on a Saturday, so of course the contractor's gonna try and get out there and get done as early as possible. Might I suggest we just monitor this for a little longer, I'll have Nicole give them another call, and at some point, we may have to bring the company before this council and have a discussion with them.
Yeah, because I mean, It's crazy. And like John said, they're at his house at 6:15. He's in the middle of Nottingham.
Yeah.
Far end.
Well, that was the complaint in your ward too. They were kind of in the middle of the route, and it was 6:03. They were at the house.
Exactly.
Yes.
So you know you got a half an hour or 40 minutes
Correct.
already into the route.
Yeah.
I mean,
Correct.
you know, I would make a phone call to Mike and tell him, we don't want to see a truck in West Warwick till 6 p.m.
Okay.
6
Nicole will be
a.m.
on the phone first thing in the morning. I
Yeah,
assure you.
we know they're gonna have to come before the council.
Yeah.
But I mean, for now, let them stop.
Okay, we will.
Thank you.
So what if this happens again? Because it's already, I mean, this isn't the first time it's happened. I mean, it's
been happening right
at least, I
now.
mean,
Like I said, I would suggest you bring the company before this council right here in front of everyone.
Exactly.
And then maybe we can drill it home then, but we will try again on our end starting tomorrow morning.
It just started up right this last month of the summer. It just seemed to pick up at 5 a.m., 5:30.
Thanks, Dave.
Townwide calendar sponsored by Councilman Messier.
So, I was trying to organize a 5K, which we're gonna be having on October 6th.
No, townwide calendar.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Oh.
So, twice we rescheduled it because there was other events going on. I didn't want to have it conflict with the opening day of soccer. The second time it was the West Warwick Steelers versus the West Warwick Police Department, and again, I didn't want to have it conflict. I think we should have a townwide calendar. I know there is some sort of calendar, but I would like to, I know I spoke with Lori Holden, and she offered to help organize it. It doesn't have to be on an official level. It could be, where if we're gonna have any kind of a townwide event, whether it's a 5K, whether Councilman Licciardi is having a Halloween event, opening day for soccer, police promotion ceremony, graduation, contact Lori, put it on this townwide calendar, and that way if you're gonna plan an event, you give Lori a call, and you can still do the event if you want, but at least you have some knowledge of what's going on. So, you know, if there's two events that are very similar, you can maybe try to plan a different weekend. Again, like I said, a couple times I ran into the problem of two events going on at the same time. I just think it would put some organization.
Events will always mix.
Of course,
And they will, and again.
but at least you have at least when you plan an event, you'll have a knowledge, all right, there's two other events and I know that.
But you gotta find, and again, Lori may be volunteering for this, but it's unfair to her to worry about the
Okay.
school department.
Then anybody
the
can do it, that's
town,
fine.
Council members, the general public. It's a little unfair to her
Okay.
to try to maintain that, because once she misses one event, somebody's gonna be up here giving a heck for it. And
what if it
just
was,
like tonight, open house is at the high school.
Yeah,
I'm not there, Lori's not there, there's a
Yeah.
few of us that should be up there,
yeah.
but we're here. So,
I'm just trying to find a way
Could
that,
it-
so like we can kind of, where the whole town can, anybody in the town, it doesn't have
like
to
a
be
Google
us.
Doc where people could add to it?
Anybody, yeah, anybody in the town could know, whether you're a citizen, whether you know, you can know what's going on. That way, if you're trying to plan something, there's just some more organization to it. I mean, like you said, how many times there's multiple events going on at the town, and obviously you can only be so many places at once. But if you're looking to plan an event, you know, Councilman Charlie, you're trying to plan like the Halloween event a couple months out, at least if you know, hey, listen, there's 3 events going on this weekend, maybe I'm gonna pick the Saturday before or after. Maybe you pick the same Saturday, that's fine too, but at least,
Especially if there's parking involved.
especially if there's parking, like, you know, we got
With
the
the,
Daring Middle School event
exactly,
coming on.
with the,
At least
the
6 months
fairs
out,
and
you look
things.
and you know that's coming on, maybe you choose to pick a different weekend. We've had that happen, especially with that event coming up.
Mhm.
the parking
It's just a suggestion, I think it's just a way for there to be more organization and more information for the, you know, I mean,
No,
obviously,
it's-
you can
It's
put.
a great idea, you just gotta find who's gonna maintain it.
And that's
who's gonna
fine,
be in
and we
charge.
can talk about that, you know, at least, you know, we have a budget vote coming up, we have elections coming up, different things like that. People can have a townwide calendar on the website. I don't care who does it, I just think it would be a good idea.
All right, any other comment on that? Thank you, Jay.
Thanks.
5K, October 6, 2018, sponsored by Councilman Messier.
All right, so I just mentioned it, we're gonna have, the West Warwick Walk for Wellness, October 6, 2018. We are all the proceeds for this event are gonna be donated to the Providence Center. And if you're a local nonprofit organization and you'd like to be part of this, we're gonna look to have some tables up there, some booths. You can contact me or you can contact Lori Holden if you'd like to be up there. I went to the event this evening, the Customer Assistance Expo at the West Warwick Senior Center. I talked to some of the nonprofit organizations there, Health Equity Zone, Thunder Mist, West Bay Community Action Agency. I invited all those groups. If you're a group out there and you want to be part of it, it's 100% free. If you're a restaurant or a business that wants to be there, there's a suggested donation of $50. It's not mandatory. 100% of the money will go to the Providence Center. And again, we have a suggested donation of $25 if you want to walk in the 5K. But again, if you want to come out there and you can't afford that, it's not mandatory. It's October 6th. It's at the West Warwick Civic Center. We're going to go from the Civic Center down Factory Street, from the bike path towards Horgan School, then do a loop and come back up. That's October 6th. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions on that? Thank you.
Approval for Church Street sidewalks construction to be included as further work deemed necessary under the road bond pricing, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
Jay?
This one, along with, well, I'll stick with this one. I'm looking to do the, I've mentioned this before, use road bond money that I have in Ward 4, which I've been very conscious of, and I'm using this sparingly, because once it's gone, and I don't see any future money coming in for anything, so. But the Church Street is in tough shape anyway. And we put in for a grant through CDBG this year. We weren't awarded, which is fine. We'll do it again next year. But the sidewalks over there, it's not going to cost that much money. I think the price was about $13,000 out of the road bond. And I don't have the exact figure, and I apologize. 150? Thanks, because I've asked you 100 times. It's about 150,000 left. Again, I'm using it cautiously, but the sidewalks have to be done. It's a safety issue, and I'm just looking for the council to approve this.
I'd put it out to bid, and then we can approve it then.
Well, it's under the road bond already, so that
Again, their road bond is for asphalt, not cement, so I would put that out to bid for, so are you putting cement or asphalt sidewalks?
I'm looking at cement.
You would have to go out to bid for that, I would think. I mean, just my opinion, because they gave us a road bond bid based upon asphalt, so much per square foot, ton, whatever it may be. Now, that's not including sidewalks of cement or curbing or whatsoever, so
Okay.
I would definitely have.
Dave, I'll get
whoever
with you.
put that out to bid. Any other questions on that? All set, Jay, on that one?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Manchester Street Island construction to be done by DPW, sponsored by Councilman Licciardi.
At the last meeting, we tabled this item. I met with Director Picozzi out there on site. We talked about a bunch of different things. There's DPW could do it, correct? We could use CDBG money over there. There's a couple different things we can do. So one of the things we agreed to move forward was to put a temporary island over there for the fall and winter, see how it goes, see if there's any tweaks we would need to make for the spring, and then in the spring it would be permanent. But it would be similar to what we would put in the fall. So in case anybody has any questions, I'm sure people will. I'm sure when it goes up that Facebook will blow up like it always does, but that's the plan right now. So if that, and it may change. It may change. I'm trying to use this money very conservatively. So that's all I have for that.
Any questions for Jay on that? Thank you, Jay.
Organizational study and business practice review update, sponsored by the town manager.
Yes, the town awarded a contract to review certain departments' operations, Public Works and the Civic Center. CW Solutions was retained to do this study, and Charlie Lombardi is here with Dave Picozzi, and they'd like to give an update as to where they are on this project and request going forward. So, Charlie and Dave, could you?
Just state your name for the record.
My name is Charles Lombardi, Principal, CWL O&M Solutions. The purpose of this is that I have been working on this organizational review and business practice study since July 1st. Dave Picozzi came on board September 4th, and I have made tremendous progress on this prior to Dave getting here, and since Dave has been here, we have worked tremendously together to implement some of the things that I'm going to be recommending in the final report. But Dave's fingerprints are not on this yet, and I need to run a bunch of different things by him, and he's been very supportive, with regard to modifications to existing job descriptions, with regard to some major reorganizational changes with the existing organization chart to a modified organization chart. I'm looking into a bunch of business practices, including yard waste, street sweeping, bulk pickup, hut patch, drain maintenance, work documentation, work scheduling, work management. The job descriptions, as I said, O&M at the Civic Center and business practices associated with business development there, recycling, in bike path, roadside, and cemetery maintenance. These are all things that I've been looking into. In the short time that Dave and I have been working together, we have talked about recommended changes to some of these business practices, and he's already moved forward with them. And I will tell you, yard waste alone, on pretty much a weekly basis, it's 148 staff hours and sometimes 164 to collect yard waste. And it's been out in front of people's houses for 3 and 4 days, and sometimes 5 days because it goes into the weekend. He has completed yard waste in 2 days, the past 2, under his direction, for 96 staff utilization hours. That's a savings of a minimum of 54 staff utilization hours, and those are hours that can be used on bike path maintenance, on cemetery maintenance, etc. So we need to work together through and work within the union contract and see how what we're planning to do with these recommendations and all of these other practices, how the current contract is going to be maybe impact them, and how we may have to move forward in the future. So the reason for the requested extension is so Dave and I can have a chance to work together and really put forth a real in-depth blueprint to move DPW in the direction that I'm sure the council wants it to go in. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Can I ask you if you could, what you did to change up those hours as far as the yard waste pickup? Is there something specific where you were able to cut that much time back that you could?
Because that's more
Well,
than a
Councilman,
third.
I've only been there 2 weeks now, and I can tell you, we do have some amazing people down there. Some of the practices that I've been able to witness in the last 2 weeks is definitely not the way I used to run my department. And I guess the way they were utilizing the staff wasn't exactly the best way to do it. And it all comes down to where they're trying to keep too many people happy at once. They don't have the staff to keep too many people happy at once. So I sat down right away with the foreman and my assistant, and we basically prioritized what needed to be done. I thought it was more important to have yard waste off the streets than it was to do some of the other little menial things they were doing around town to keep people happy. So
Because you mentioned the yard waste, that's a complaint I've gotten quite often, is when somebody puts it out on Monday and it sits there till Saturday, especially on a day like today when it rains and it sits there.
doesn't make any sense to me.
No.
When I first got there, I just observed for the first week, and there were days where we weren't sending a yard waste truck out at all. There were days we were only sending one out, and it's just not the way to do things. And I'm trying to spend a lot of time with Charlie. I'm trying to spend a lot of time running that department. Everyone down there, I have to say, has been cooperative so far. It's only been 2 weeks. But I think we can make some good changes there, make it more productive, because it definitely was not productive the way it was running. And I did ask the town manager to give me some more time with Charlie. Charlie's doing this in-depth study. I agree with a lot of it. There were some things, because I have the experience of running a DPW, that I want to tweak. And, I don't want a report to come here that I'm not going to disagree with everybody. I'd like to get my hands into it for a little while.
When
So
can
that's the
we
request.
actually expect the final report?
Well, I asked her to extend it 1 month. So,
How many hours?
So,
It would be 80 hours.
At how much?
Charlie is working 20 hours a week on the project, so it'd be an additional 4 weeks, 80 hours. It's $135 an hour, so it would be an additional, $10,800. So this would require
Where's
a
that
revision.
10,000 gonna come from?
It would come from the same line item in the budget, consulting services in our general government budget. There's a line item, a category for general government services, that's where it would come. So if this were to be agreed upon, we would come to the council at the next meeting with a resolution authorizing the additional work and authorizing the additional expenditures.
Well, seeing how much money, you only been here 2 weeks, Charlie's been here for over a month, how much money we're saving on man hours right now, I mean,
a
it's only
no-brainer.
gonna, it's, how much?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Just, yeah,
How
just-
much,
just for-
how
just
much
for-
more are they gonna save us, so,
Yeah, just for that
I
one,
mean,
just for that one.
for 10 grand,
I need one at a time, please.
well, I got the floor right now.
understand.
Just for saving that money right now, you don't know, and I know Dave, and I know, I work with Charlie down at the sewer, they're very precise at what they do, they're very good at what they do, and, I would give them the range for the 10,000, I think we'll be very happy, that's my opinion.
Councilman, if I could comment, please. I think what you're going to find in this study, in the long run, is, it's not a case of we have bad employees. I think it's a case of, things have been done down there a certain way where they weren't cost effective. And I think it'd be well worth your money to, let's get this place straightened out and get these recommendations, especially from an outside person and a new person coming in. Already we can see things that are going to help this town a lot as far as getting some work done. It's not going to be easy, I can tell you that. It's not going to be, I don't want to stand here and say it's going to be a cakewalk. You'll see when we meet again with our recommendations. It's not going to be something you're going to do overnight, but I think in time, and we're doing the small things now, the low-hanging fruit, we're already working on those, and I have to say the guys have been cooperating with it, so I'm happy about that.
I want to add one thing. And one other thing I want to add, and you councilors will know this, is when I was looking into this, the old business practice with regard to yard waste resulted in an average of like 24 complaints a month. Now, these were coming from you leaders, community leaders. That turns into like a minimum of 3 staff hours per complaint. So, 24, that's 72 staff hours. That's basically 2 full-time equivalents because people have to be taken off a job they're on and go address the complaint because it's very important. So you know how many complaints you've gotten the last, 2 weeks on yard waste. So those go away too. So in addition to, the significant staff utilization you're saving by doing the yard waste Director Picozzi's way, you're also minimizing the complaints and you're saving the staff utilization there. And that's one out of a list of these business practices that Dave and I have been working on. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention as well.
Can I?
Does
can I-
this,
can I-
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you go first.
Does this cover the current equipment and future equipment needs? One of the issues that we have, I think, as a council when it's budget time is, deciding what stays and what goes as far as equipment. Like I know they were asking for a camera for the pipes at one point, and we're telling them to use this, the sewer treatment plants cameras. These little things that might be important to us to understand and know, like what do they really need, what don't they need, where are the needs as far as purchasing new equipment or not? Is that part of the report?
That's all going to be part of it, and that's what we're doing now. We're doing staff now, we're going to get into equipment. I can tell you just from my quick walkthroughs, I have a lot of ideas on what's needed, what's not needed, so yes, that'll be part of it, Councilman.
So you mentioned something about bike path maintenance. Just to be clear, because I know sometimes Parks and Rec does the bike path. Is that something that you would like to have done more often? Because I know that's a complaint I get quite often is about the bike path being maintained enough.
I can tell you, Councilman, before I even came to work here, I ride that bike path a lot. I start in Cranston, I end up in Coventry, my wife and I. And I can tell you, Warwick was mediocre because we didn't do a lot of bike path maintenance. Cranston was pretty good, Warwick was mediocre, West Warwick was horrible. Coventry is like going into the Emerald City for some reason, I
Yes.
don't know why.
I can
But yes,
tell you.
that's something I would like to address here.
Thank
is,
you.
the
I
the
literally
bike path
get multiple
maintenance.
complaints about
Yes,
that throughout the summer.
I understand.
So, thank you.
I have a question for Charlie. In your report, I know I read your report a few times with the sewer department, and you provide a lot of detail. And I'm all about as much as detail as much as possible. I know you're correcting a few things now as you're going for the next, or you probably already have the last couple of weeks. in your report, are you gonna indicate what you've corrected already?
Absolutely.
As well as this is what needs to be done, and this is what
Yes.
I'd like to do?
With staff utilization charts and all of that. Yes, Counselor.
All right.
Any
Thank you.
questions for Charlie or Dave? None. I think the consensus is move forward.
Yeah,
Angelo,
Yes.
Jay,
Yes.
Jay,
yeah,
John.
Yes,
absolutely.
Move forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
thank you.
Ordinance number 2018-25 as amended, previously tabled, second reading.
All right.
You getting fat? All right, all set.
Second reading, sponsored by Councilman Messier, an ordinance amending Chapter 10 Licenses and Business Regulations, Article 14 Recycling Bins of the Code of Ordinances of the Town of West
I'll
Warwick.
move the ordinance for discussion.
Second?
Move and second, discussion. Al?
Hey.
Actually, I'm sorry, you gotta, make a motion to take it off the table.
I'll make a motion to take ordinance,
2018-25.
2018-25.
Second.
Move to take it off the table, put it back on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Now
we
I'll
have-
move the ordinance.
Second.
Move and second, Al?
Basically, was tabled because we had some people come in concerned about the charitable bins. What I did was, the ordinance itself is still pretty much as it was. In order to take care of that, I created 3 classifications. One is the charitable recycling bin, and those are for organizations that have a tax exempt status, and the bin is on tax exempt property. It doesn't change within the ordinance as to any of the rules or regulations. The change comes about in your next resolution, which is fees. The second category I created is the town recycling bins. Those are bins that would be placed on town property under contract with the town. The only difference in the ordinance regarding that category is that where both charitable classifications and commercial classifications, when there's violations, not only is the operator responsible, but we have to hold the property owner responsible. Under the town category, naturally, the town isn't subject to fines. The town's got the obligation to make sure that the person that's got the bin on the town property is operating properly. And the third category is the commercial category, which is basically all of those that are out there. And the way I tried to define it is it's located on private property and owned by an operator for a profit-making purpose. Whether 90% is donated or 10% kept, that's the purpose they got them there. So those are the 3 categories. The rest of the ordinance is pretty much as it was prior to last week. As I say, your change is going to come in your next matter, which is the resolution for the fees. There is one thing that I will offer only as a suggestion to the council, that I had originally defined notice as notice shall mean written notice delivered by regular mail to the address of the operator and/or owner at the address stated on the application. I would offer to the council that an amendment be placed and you add the words "or by email," so that the building official goes out and sees the mess around the bin. He's got to come back, he's got to get Pam to write the letter, hopefully get it out that day. 3 days from now, they got the notice, the stuff is still sitting there. I've made a little amendment, which won't be on your copy of it when we get to the application, that in addition to address and phone number, when they apply, they're gonna give the email, so that can, because this is something unlike the normal minimum housing, it's there, and it's not gonna get cleared up overnight. What we're talking about is things that should get cleared up overnight. So give the building office the ability to notify them by email and say your place is a mess, get it cleaned up by tomorrow.
It's a good idea.
So I would like, if it's up to the Natchez Council, I would like that amendment added to the notice provision.
Somebody want to make that amendment, please?
How are we gonna amend it?
Just amend it at email.
All you're gonna do is under notice, you're gonna add the words "or by email."
Email.
I make an amendment to add or by email,
To the notice
a
provision.
new notice to go out for a violation.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded, as amended. Any other discussion on this matter? Any public discussion?
Really quick, can I just ask, did we get, I know that Councilman Licciardi asked to get a number. Did we get a number?
That's on the next.
Okay, sorry.
Richard Holt, Pike Street, West Warwick. I'm interested to know, what are we gonna do about how do we make out with the ones that are on town property now? And when are we gonna solve that issue?
I think that would be solved by the passage of this, because then, as it will.
This has to pass before we can enforce it.
So the ones that are on town property, we can't do anything with yet?
Well, we have to look, because some of them are under contract, and we have to confirm what that contract may entail.
Did Ernie get copies of them contracts in yet?
There is one contract with Animal Planet that is somewhat legible, somewhat not legible. The other agreement with, I think, Rhode Island Recyclers, there is no agreement with the town. There was an agreement or understanding with the school department. At the present time, I believe they could be asked to be removed, but at this point, we'll see where we go with these ordinances and see what process we put in place for any town-occupied property. Animal Planet, right now, Animal Planet, Planet Aid owes us 3/4 payments, so we're waiting for those to come in. Initially, when it started, there were 3/4 payments in arrears, then they started up. So, so we should be getting that hopefully very shortly. But to answer your question, yeah, they could be asked to be removed at any time. At the present time, they're there until we move a little bit further along to see what the process we're going to be following.
How much do they owe us?
It's just a small amount. The quarterly amounts range from like $25 to $35.
So,
So we have 3/4.
not to be vindictive here, but most of this council voted that if taxes were owed by businesses in this town, that the town could no longer do business with them. So they owe us money. Why don't we grab their bins and put it in storage so we know we're gonna get it? They're doing business with us on a daily basis, and whether they owe us $25 or $25,000, I think-
I would advise against that until the ordinance is passed. In the ordinance, there's provision for that.
yeah, but we already have an ordinance that if a business owner does business with the town, he has to be up to date on taxes.
Correct.
They're not up to date on taxes, they're doing,
I'm only
Angelo, that's not
commenting-
taxes, that's a fee they're paying us to
And I don't-
utilize the property. Now, Nicole also sent us out an email the following day of what they have saved the town
I see
over
that.
the following, and she's gonna go over that later on. But again, the amount of tonnage that has been used by those two. Now, again, I don't agree with whatever happened up at the school department 10, 11 years ago. That's who approved that. We still have no record of it. We're going back to the minutes.
My only
Now,
co-
the ones down on Hay Street, I agree. I mean, that should not have been done by a frontline employee. That should have been done by the department head or the town manager.
My
my
sug-
only comment is-
Again,
So that's null and void, there's nothing binding about that contract.
That's correct.
I was only addressing your comment about impounding the bins. That's provided for in here. I wouldn't get into that.
So on record, are we stating that once this resolution is passed, we're gonna move forward with removing them bins on town property?
This is an ordinance that has to pass, has to have 2 readings. This is the second reading. Then once
Because
it's
if Ernie
passed,
can't get, if he can't get legible
Well-
contracts, do we even have contact information to
Well-
send this stuff out to?
Oh, yeah, we have contact individuals and contact, people with that, with the company.
Where is
So-
the company, Ernie? Where are they on?
It's It's in Massachusetts.
Planet AIDS
Well,
in
there's
Mass.
two, is it 3 different companies between the two
Oh,
locations or 2?
Well, we have, I think it was something like 10 companies.
No, but just between
In
Factory
Midtown, we have
Street
two.
and
We have
two different companies?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, one is a written agreement which we all agree is not valid. The person didn't have the authority to sign it. So that's really an invalid contract. The other was an agreement made, as was said, with a school committee many years ago, and is referenced in minutes, but nothing else.
My suggestion, and I know we can't do this yet, but I agreed with,
Well,
with,
what I'd like, I
Would-
don't want to cut you off, but before we go any further, once this ordinance is passed, I personally think we should go out to bid, because based upon Nicole's information,
well, that's what I was gonna say.
those bins are very valuable to this community. It's saved thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars from going to the landfill.
Whether they were at the school property or they go to the Salvation Army, it's still gonna save us thousands.
But they may not go to the Salvation Army, the school department.
Do we have actual numbers of how much that individual bin
Nicole does,
that
and
bin
she has
carries
shared that
itself?
with the council.
per individual bin, not as a whole?
Well, what I was gonna say was what Dave Picozzi said last week, and I like the idea of having them at a central location like put it out to bid, but put it at like a place like the DPW. I mean, that's my suggestion. I like that idea.
The town recycling bin is defined as a bin located on town property, town-owned property, under contract with the town. So David, what you've commented on is that's what I was, in the conversation last week, I was anticipating that whether it's a central location or wherever, the town would sit down and say, you wanna put a bin on our property, this is what you're gonna cost us, and forget the permit fee. We're gonna be under an actual contract, where to keep it there.
For that particular, for the ones that are on the town property,
Yes.
yeah.
And if we're not under an actual contract now, what obligation do we have that we can't remove them? Why do we need an ordinance if we're not under contract? So I could just go put a bin there and until this contract passes, you couldn't
That's
touch
what
it?
That's the way it's been up to now.
Even though we don't have a contract? We're
That's the
legally
way-
liable that we couldn't move it?
That's the way it's been now. You put them there. We've had no authority to go in and remove your bin.
On our property, we have no authority to do that. That's poorly written then from the beginning.
There was no.
And I just want to reiterate, the exact number, the number of pounds deferred from the solid waste landfill in 2017 was 877,200 pounds. That's 438 tons at $47 per ton, a savings of 20,586. So, and that's one company. So
But not broken down by bin, correct?
they only have one bin on each spot, so.
They empty themselves, correct?
Yes, they maintain it. We do not do anything in those two areas, and they're kept very well clean in those two areas. So deferring $20,000 of savings from the town. And a
Which
lot
could
of
be more,
parents-
is it-
A lot of parents bring those clothes or whatever up there as they're dropping kids off at school and
So,
everything else.
I mean, if that's what you think, we should have multiple locations, that's fine too.
Well, these companies do their own research. They have their own criteria for locations.
Yeah.
Is it a lot of visibility, a lot of traffic going
Yeah.
by? So they have their own criteria, which they establish, and then they go looking for areas that meet that criteria. We happen to have those too, and throughout the community, there are others. So that's, they have certain standards they look at. So we could have one location, but it may not be
No, and again, we can.
what they
I mean,
want.
if we're putting out to bid
If
to
we want
mul-
to look at that and go out to bid, once this process is
Right.
done, then we can move forward with that aspect of it. If this is stuff that's truly going to end up in the trash, and then we got to look at that and say, okay, now we're looking at $20,000
Right.
more money per year in our tipping fees,
And I like,
which are going up drastically.
and I would like, a place where there's cameras would be preferable. I know typically there's not a lot of dumping at the factory. I don't think I've seen too much of it as opposed to certain locations where people leave their mattresses, so
There's cameras at factories.
that's what I mean. So at least if there's places with cameras, those are probably places that would benefit to, if, on,
And there's cameras at Hay Street.
yeah, so I think those are two good locations where there's cameras. So if somebody decides they want to drop off a mattress or they want to drop off,
Good.
Good.
My question is, so now if I'm on town property and I open the door to that, and that door comes off, and I get hit with it, are we liable as a town because it's on town property?
That's a good question.
And if we are, maybe just think of put something in there that if, at your own risk, a sticker or something, Next thing you know, we'll be getting sued from that, and, you know, if they're there for, you know, X amount of years or whatever, things break.
That would be in the contract.
That would be, yeah, that would be if we go out to bid, we put that in the contract.
Even just now, though, if we don't go out for bid and we pass this ordinance and it gets read 2 times and then bins stay there,
Yeah, the company should take the liabilities, because
100%
obviously
it's on town
it's a
property.
defect in the product, they're bin. Well, ours is just the property, so that
Correct.
should,
but by allowing it on the town property, we're taking an obligation for that.
Anybody else out there, they'll sue.
All right, we'll look forward to that.
One last comment, Jason.
Yes.
Last week you asked about when it went into effect.
Yeah, correct, yep.
It's 30 days
From
after
tonight?
the, no, 30 days after the effective date, and the effective date is 20 days after passage.
Okay,
So 50 days
from today,
from today,
if we pass it.
if it passes, would be when the ordinance takes effect, when they have to be registered.
Correct, but we don't have to wait 50 days before we ask these companies if we decide we
No,
want.
no. They have to be permitted within 30 days after the effective date.
Okay.
Any other discussion on these bins? Hearing none, roll call vote. Jay?
Yes.
Angela?
On the amendment,
He's not here. Jay?
Yes.
John?
yes.
And I vote yes.
that was on the amendment,
Angela voted
Yes.
That was with the amendment, as amended.
as amended.
Resolution regarding recycling bin permit fees previously tabled.
I'll make a motion to take it off the table for discussion.
Second,
Moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
What I did, once I broke it down into 3 categories, I'll start with the town and the charitable. I put those in at 0, because the town's gonna be under contract. The charitable, we've limited to a very select group. The other, this was just from looking at other ordinances the town had, and it's strictly, I put something before the council. I put down $300 a year, or $25 a month until the renewal. And after that, any renewal will be $300 a year. That, as I said, is just to give the council a starting point on where to go with the amount of a fee for the bin. That's your
I
prerogative.
think
not mine.
that's a good number for multiple reasons. One, we're gonna be putting out to bid for 1 or 2 locations in the town. I think we're still gonna have these nonprofit or these charitable organizations that are gonna have them. So I think this limits some of the problem bins. If they wanna pay the $300 a year, then they can. If not, we still have these other bins, so we're not eliminating them.
That's strictly, I just
That's-
wanted to give you a starting point.
Yeah. I don't know what the rest of
Any
the council
questions
feels.
for Al?
No.
Any public comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Discussion recycling bin application and permits previously tabled.
I'll make a motion to take it off the table.
Second,
Moved and seconded,
All I did
all in
was,
favor?
Aye.
aye.
I wanted to have the council see what I had prepared by way of the application. And I prepared the application so that when I meet with Paula to go over it, by the way they complete the application, Paula will be able to determine whether or not it's a charitable permit that's gonna be issued, whether or not it's gonna be a town permit that'll be issued, or whether or not it's gonna be a commercial permit that's gonna be issued. And I prepared 3 separate types of permits. When they come in, they fill out the application. If it's for a charitable, that's the one they'll fill out. I'm also gonna bring Paula some plastic sheets that I'm gonna suggest that they take the permit, slip it in a plastic sheet, and instruct the operator that it has to be posted on the bins.
They'd have to laminate it.
Well, I think if we just buy some plastic sheets and duct tape it,
Condensation and everything else is
All right.
on that paper.
Then
I'd actually request that it be laminated.
laminate, that's the council. I'll talk to Paula on that.
Any questions for Al on this? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We withdrew the bins.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Finish all the bins, right?
Bins are done.
That's been 4 months in
Reports.
the making.
Town manager's report.
I have 3 items this evening. The first is the There's a discussion about our streetlights with Prism, the next phase about the dimming process. We held a meeting with representatives of Prism Lighting, and all of our streetlights, the LED conversions, are equipped with a connection or repeater. I mean, it's probably not the right terminology, but for my purposes, I think it's sufficient. So each streetlight has a repeater, and they talk to each other. We have right now we have 2 access points, which are basically small boxes, which might be a child's shoebox, very small, very light, that go on high areas, whether it be towers or buildings that have a power source. And they're a part of this connection process. Because of the congested area in Arctic and the northern part with a lot of streetlights, another access point is needed. So we need a 3rd access point and a location for that. And there have been some suggestions. So Prism with Joe Argenti are looking for an access point, and the box would be provided for free, the access point. Once that's found, if it's town property or school property, if it's a school, then that's great. It can be installed, and as long as there's a power source. Then after it's installed, effective, within 3 weeks, we would be in a position to be able to do this dimming process, which is basically a computer program. It's a software system. It's web-based. You can go online with access code, but I'll take it back, probably need a little more training on it. But it would allow individual dimming of individual streetlights, sections, streets, with a knowledgeable person at the keyboard. So it does have that capability, and again, once a location is found, things will be moving on very quickly. If a location is found that's not town-owned or town-controlled, then we'd have to have an agreement with that party, and that would require a lease agreement and a resolution to the town council. But to answer your question, once a location is found, the box will be provided for free. Installation, I believe, would be for free as well, but I'm not 100% sure of that. But we can be up and running with this process of dimming the streetlights. So if, for whatever reason, in a particular area that it was too bright, it could be lowered, or conceivably,
Right.
we could lower sections of town at a certain hour, have a program to do that at a certain hour to reduce the electrical usage. So there are many features that can be used with this. And it is quite interesting because you can also use it to look at individual streetlights to see if they're working or not, or if there's a problem with them. So,
Because I know we had talked when the previous, I mean, it was before I got on board, they talked about maybe for an instance like the tree lighting in Arctic or Phoenix at that particular time, maybe you want to turn the lights up brighter because there's more people in that area at that time, so you'd be able to do that at that point.
yes, in fact, we spoke with Representative Prism. I mean, they can, we can work with them, and they can actually do all the adjusting for us. If we know in advance what we want to do, they can set the lights for certain events, or if there's certain areas. There's certain areas that town's always going to want to have bright lights, the main roads, highways. In residential areas, we may want to say, okay, let's reduce it by so much wattage at night at certain hours when people are already home and not traveling. So it will provide, more opportunities for those type of decisions to be made. So
this would still be done through Prism though? So like if we had an instance where I said,
Yes.
hey, the street over from me wants the light down, I would send an email to Prism, or it wouldn't be through the town doing it?
well, again, it would have to be some control mechanism, so there's not a lot of changes
Yeah.
being made, without, rationale or reasoning. But Prism would have the ability to make these changes upon, a request of
Okay.
probably some town official. Again, as well as, the town has the ability to do it themselves, but there is a training necessary to do this properly.
This also will help Joe Argenti, because once the software is installed properly, it'd be able to tell you when a light is out. So proactively, they'd be able,
Right.
you know, they'll be able to go out and
Right.
repair that. We don't need to send the emails to Joe Argenti or to Prism.
Right.
So this will also help. with,
Ernie,
That was one of the big selling points to us.
I'm not sure if this has to do with that, but I had a light that was flickering on Rotary Drive, and I sent a letter over to Joe on the 15th. I haven't heard back from him. Can you follow up on that
Sure.
tomorrow? Still find out. Is it still flickering?
I don't know.
I heard it was out, but it's driving the neighbors crazy. I mean, who wants to see?
Yeah,
it
we
with
had,
their
we,
light?
I had an incident like that literally a few days before you. I don't know what it was. It was in a different, I forget which street it was, but they got it taken care of within,
Joe's usually
2 or 3
pretty quick
days.
to get back to me.
You
but-
know, since the position that the town and the town council took with Prism early on last year, I mean, they are more responsive. I know they were in the process of changing one of their vendors. I'm not sure if that's happened or not, but they are more responsive to our requests, you know, for streetlights change. So I don't believe that that time lag is less and less for the easy repairs. More difficult repairs, you know, may be a different story, but it is running much smoother. And as you said, it's correct. I mean, Joe would go and look at a streetlight early in the morning, then email Prism, they would look at it and send a crew out. So again, with this technology, you know, that would show up. You know, if we got a call, go to the software system, look at the pole, and that should tell you whether it's operating properly or not. But I will follow up with the specific request. So again, it does open up a lot of opportunities for the town as we move forward. And as you said, advantage would be if there's areas of town that, especially residential neighborhoods, it can reduce the power at night, in the evening hours, save us some electricity. But again, many areas, we're not going to want to do that if it's heavily traveled at night. So, but again, once a location is found, and once it's all set and given to go within 3 weeks, they'll be operational, and then there'll be some training on a town staff if we want somebody to understand how it works. But they will have the ability to do that from their end, which is always beneficial to us because, you know, they do that every day, so they know what they're doing. And so again, it does give us more opportunities, and next step is finding a location.
Is there something wrong with our air condition today? Has it been running good all day? It seems warm. I hear it running, but I don't feel any cooler.
It's been cold
All right,
upstairs,
just
so.
checking. Thank you.
All right, that's the first item. The second item is, last week I mentioned the preliminary results of our audit had shown a slight increase in our reserves. So again, the good news was, at this point in our process, we believe we've ended fiscal year 18 in the black without having to go to one of these one-time resources. You know, as you recall, there were 2 steps in the plan. One was to reduce budget expenditures in the adopted budget. The second one was to take one-time revenue sources, if needed, or not to exceed is what it was worded, for the rescue service fees, you know, for the emergency service fund. That's for a percentage of the rescue service fees goes into this fund for police and fire equipment. We had a sum not to exceed $400,000 there. Police detail car fund, you know, we received funds from the private details and the rental, if you will, of the cruisers on private details. $79,000 was allocated, and $1 million for the OPEB fund. As we start the budget review process with the auditing process, at this point, none of those will be needed. Now, in speaking with the finance director, there has been no changes into the reserves or where these funds are located, so they're still located into their original accounts. Nothing has been transferred, so at this point, no action is needed to keep these items where they are. So, again, that's optimistic news, good news. So there is no special action needed to take these back to where they started from. So they're there, they're available for use, and you know, as we go through the budget, the audit process, you know, last time it was, you know, a $300,000 surplus of a, you know, little under $40 million budget. So I mean, $38 million at the time. So not a lot, but it's in the black. So that's what we care about at this point. So with that, again, no additional actions necessary from the part of the council to transfer those funds back.
So without transferring those funds,
Mhm.
if we have a surplus, correct, still?
Well, yeah, at this point, yes, slight surplus.
Okay, so where do can we place that money into the rain, I know you don't call it that, the rainy day fund?
Well,
And
basically.
Can you to add to that?
Yes, whatever is unspent, it will go into the unrestricted reserve, which is called the cash reserve in up by our charter. So anything that's left over, that's not spent, will go into the cash reserve. That's what our charter calls it.
Could we utilize the money in the black from the Civic Center and place that into the cash reserve as well?
Well, that would go into the Civic Center was set up as an enterprise fund. So whatever's left over there would be a starting point. It would be just like our cash reserve or our unreserved fund balance. It would be theirs as well. So that would be sitting in that account. Kristen, is that correct? No.
So that would be
I'll
sitting in
refer
a,
to further.
okay, so that would be sitting in a cash reserve for the Civic
right.
Center?
Correct, correct.
Okay, even though they have a debt payment to the town?
A decision would need to be made. If they want to make that payment, then they would have less in their reserve and they could transfer that over to the town. It didn't get made last year, and I think it was because they were in a deficit.
Well, I mean, we already had a corrective action plan when the budget was presented anyway. So we're all going, the debt, excuse me, the debt payment plan is already 12,000 less, correct?
Where do you
What?
get 12?
I'm correct, yeah, it's about 12,000. I am correct.
I think you're right, but keep going.
So I'm just thinking, you know, I don't know, I'm still not convinced that we're solvent, you know, I mean, we still
Oh.
need, we're still in a hole, no matter how you look at it.
Well, again, every budget is different.
Well,
You know, every budget is different. Every year is going to be different. If revenues do not exceed expenses, then yes, that could be a deficit situation. Again, as we're tracking expenses, and you know the improvements that have been made in tracking expenses, again, one of the obligations is if you believe there's a deficit, you have to try to take some action. Under state statutes, in the general fund, if we believe there's a deficit in the general fund, and, you know, we're required to take action. We're required to do a plan, and the plan would be to come in, you know, not in a deficit. So it's a requirement. So as budgets go, each one is different. If in fact it looks like there's a deficit in the Civic Center, then we have to look at what do we do? How do we reduce expenses? Or one of the ways would be to go to this funds that are in this account to offset a deficit. So the obligation is to bring a budget in balanced. And it's our responsibility to do that. However, we need to do that. You know, legally you can't end legally you can't end in a deficit. By charter you can't end in a deficit. And with the monitor we're doing, if we see something trending, we have to make adjustments, whether we cut back our expenses or whether there's a revenue that may be coming in that's unbudgeted. But that's what we do. And with the enterprise fund, it's the same way for them. So we need to make sure that we cover our expenses, however we do that.
right.
I don't know if you want to add. Would you like to add anything to that, or?
No, you covered it quite well.
That's your second item. Any questions for Ernie on that item?
The last item would be, last Friday was a closing for the applications for chief of police. So we'd be reviewing them, and I would follow the same process that was done with the fire chief. Interviews and recommending the top candidates to the council in executive session for their review and questions. So we'll follow the same process, and this is you know, an important decision, so we want to move forward with this as well.
I just want to bring up every time we had quite a few of them, interviewed a police chief, the council was involved with the top 3 or 4, or 3. Last time, I think it was the top 3. So I still would like to be involved. Whatever 3 recommendations that you bring forward, I would like to meet with each and every one of them in front of this council in executive session. That's my feelings, the way it's been done, the way it's always been
I
done.
don't think we did it for.
You weren't around.
For the most recent, for Chief McGarrett, we didn't do that.
Yes, we did.
I was here for that one, we did not do that.
We had interviews.
No,
Mark,
No, we did for the town manager, we didn't for John McGarrett. We got a recommendation, we discussed it, we went over the top 3 or 4 candidates, but
Right.
we didn't interview them.
because we already had our mind made up.
I'm not against interviewing, we didn't,
I just say, I think that we should be in the process of the last 3 top candidates for it.
Well, let's also look, he may not bring 3 names, so let's say he brings 2. I agree with you, we could sit down and discuss that and, bring those names forward.
Yep.
And the council can decide from there which way they wanna go.
I would like to interview them personally, like we did
With the
numerous
manager?
other
yeah,
times.
I'm for that.
Yeah, I'm for that too.
And I'll tell you, I mean,
That's fine.
I know with the fire chief, it was unprecedented that in the past managers, it's usually 1 interview, maybe 2 if lucky. I think Ernie performed 3 and 4 interviews on each individual, and he had a panel. Then it came down to himself. Then he went back and interviewed, called over the phone, did phone interviews. So I think he did his due diligence more than any town manager I have ever.
Nobody's denying it.
No, I'm saying more than any town manager ever has here, going back to Wolfgang Bauer. So
Well,
But let's face it, we live in this town, we have to work with them, and I think it's a top position, and I think that we should be hands-on on this one.
Yeah, I will bring the top candidates to the council, and if it would be a council decision if you wanted to interview them, because the appointments here are really a manager, what do you want to say, recommendation, appointment with council confirmation, so the council is, an equal partner in this position, as well as just about every director has that partnership with the manager. So if the council wanted to do something like that, interview the top few candidates, and that's your direction, that would certainly be fine.
When do you plan on beginning your process?
thank you.
All right, we have the review of the resumes, which would be less than a week. I will have a panel similar to the fire department, fire chief. I have a town manager in mind to sit, and hopefully a chief of police that would be willing to do that. Hopefully, I know chiefs of police I worked with before. I know chiefs of police, so it would be a small panel that would be easily assembled. So quickly. A position like this certainly needs to be filled, as many of our positions do. So this would be something that would be a front burner item. So we would schedule the interviews shortly after I get commitments for my panel participants, which would hopefully be within a week. So within a week, review the candidates, pick the list to interview, and that will give me next week to put my panel together. And after that, within maybe a week or 2, have the schedules where the candidates come in for the interviews, and then shortly thereafter, recommendation to the council. So we'll work it along the lines of council meetings.
Okay.
So I don't know if it would be October, it might be, because October is too quick because of the early dates. So it would be one of the November meetings.
So by that time, there'll be a new council in place, well, not in place, but elected by November 6th. So maybe we ought to talk about maybe the new council, whoever it may be, because maybe 3 of us won't be here. Maybe 1 of us will, 2 of us will. There might be 3 new people sitting at this council, and don't know, something to talk
Yeah.
about.
That'd be their choice.
Yeah, they should have that opportunity.
I think that they should. 'cause
Maybe
it's too
the
close
five
to
of
the
us, though.
election.
We just, there's a lot of unknowns.
Right. The only ones we know is Licciardi and D'Amico will be here.
Well, if there were a way to try to expedite this as soon as possible, but I understand what you're saying. This is a position that the council that's going to be elected in November 6th is going to have to work with. So you're saying that should be there.
Because we only have 2 more meetings before
Right.
the election, so.
And even if you could have a meeting late October, you may want to wait for the same reason.
Yeah, we should.
Okay, I understand.
Because they're gonna be here 4 years.
But it seems to me though, if we do our due diligence, we make the right pick, it wouldn't matter.
The right pick maybe to you, maybe the councilman
The
sitting in
right
my,
pick for the town.
in any seat that they're sitting on, maybe they have the right pick for the town. So you can, pros and cons in both ways.
My opinion, go through the process and see what.
Yeah, I would go through the process and then we'll go from there, but I just would like that open for
If you have the
discussion.
process done before November 6th, then so be it. If it's done after November 6th, then so be it. Because we've been on councils where it's changed and I understand what you're saying, but nothing, it could be nothing changing, so why stop the progress? Why make the, especially if an individual may be coming from another police department or whatever, I don't know who applied, but it's also fair to them not to make them wait just for an election.
All right, well, we'll proceed,
I
as
wouldn't
quickly
rush
as we
through it.
can.
No, I wouldn't
And then
rush.
we'll see where
It's a
we
serious
are, and I'll report back in a few weeks as to where we are and what time frame I see.
Under the manager's report, Ernie, I don't know if you heard anything since we sent that resolution to the state for the 2 bridges, the East Avenue Bridge and Cranston West Warwick Line Bridge. Did they?
No, I haven't received a response. The response would come to the town clerk. I sent an email to a staff person in DOT. I have not received a response. I can send a letter to the director to ask for
Yeah, I would.
a response, whatever the response is.
I mean, I went by there today, there's garbage all in between. It's a mess. It's pitiful to see. I mean, they spent all that money to put them barriers up, and the last message we got was all they had to do was put a weight limit sign up. So from a $50 sign to a $5,000 worth of barriers, I guess our tax dollars at work again.
Well, I will send a letter to the director's office tomorrow.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And from Major Knott,
Angela, keep that for public comment.
okay,
Thank you.
sorry.
Anything else for the manager? Thank you. Finance report?
Good evening, councilors. Current year tax collections to date through August 31st are $16,362,542.49, which is 26% of the levy. Collections are absolutely where they should be. All payments that came in for first quarter have been processed, so there are no bins in our department. Prior year tax collections to date of $419,771.80, which is about 25% of the budgeted amount. Again, it's exceeding expectations right now, but we're still working through the audit and things that cross the fiscal year, so we'll keep an eye on that number. So overall revenues are at 21.85%, which is ahead of where we would expect it to be. Overall expenditures are trending below target, 11.31%, so we are absolutely collecting more cash than we are spending, which is great. I did prepare the summary of the departments, just a quick one line, so you can see exactly where the departments are, and 99% of them are under budget, and maybe within 1% of where they should be. I did want to say the girls did a great job getting all those payments processed. And the auditors are coming in October 1st, so I've been busy getting the books in order for when they come in.
Any questions for Kristen? Thank you, Kristen. Don't go far, though. Are you doing this from next report?
What is the next
Civic
report?
Center?
Civic Center, year-to-date, as of August 31st, they have expended $50,875. They've collected, as of August 31st, it was $18,000, but my clerk does record mid-month. When I did this report, she hadn't recorded the receipts. So that number is a bit higher, technically, as of August 31st. It's probably about 30,000. So I mean, it's the summer, so they're not obviously collecting as much, but that's
Any
where they
questions for
stand.
Kristen? Thank you, Kristen.
Capital Improvement Program Police Vehicles, sponsored by Council President Goslin.
Have somebody move that
I'll
resolution.
move the resolution.
Second?
Moving second. Chief, acting chief, whatever you want to be called.
Yes, it's below. Good evening. Keeping with something that Chief Silva had implemented quite a few years ago, we did a 10-year capital improvement plan. A few of those items we've been keeping track on and is a top priority for us for officer safety reasons. One of those primary being the maintenance of our fleet. So I'm proposing that we continue with that process and fuse our fleet with 3 new marked vehicles and 1 unmarked administrative vehicle, and we pay for those out of our police detail fund and a little over $12,000 in a 2017 burn JAG grant. Our police car fund, as the town manager had mentioned, remains stable with the proposed money that was going to come out of it. And one positive of the Clyde Street Bridge project was the billing of the DOT for those things that helped increase that fund. So I'm proposing we take advantage of some 2018 police vehicles that are currently in stock and using the Greater Boston Police Council contract bid pricing for those, as opposed to bidding for the 2019 vehicles, which will have an increased price. And it also gives us an opportunity to have those vehicles to us rather quickly, which will allow our fleet maintenance people to properly outfit them with the lights, sirens, and radio prior to snowfall when they're busy with plow and other maintenance things. Just so you're updated, we do maintain a fleet of approximately 47 vehicles for various things. We have 13 frontline police cars that are used on a daily basis. We try to use them for 16 hours at a time and let them rest for 8, so we're not beating them up all the time. We remain 4 backline vehicles that are marked for our school resource officer, our DARE officer, animal control, and our crime scene van. And we use 15 unmarked vehicles between administrators and detectives that rotate through, and then an undisclosed amount of undercover cars that we use with task force narcotics detectives. And the last of the ones that you see across the street, those are detail cars. They simply are used, they're backline, they're not capable of being frontline vehicles anymore for a variety of reasons, but they still run, the lights still flash, they pass inspection. We use them until they pass inspection. They obviously help us support this police car detail fund, which allows us to maintain a good fleet and not have to burden capital fund request for that.
Major, how much is in detail fund right now?
Right now, we're slightly above 204,000 as of a couple days ago.
Any questions for the chief?
I do. Excuse me, one question. If you get 4, whatever number of cars you get, you say there's 4 that are kind of on its last leg. If you get 4, would that be 4, are you gonna put 4 other cars out of service to make 8
Right
in
now,
that area?
depending on what happens, we have a couple that are kind of borderline, that they're probably not gonna pass the next inspection. So what we have right now, one I would probably propose would be deferred to town use, like we used to do, move a car to whatever other town department needs it, whether DPW needs it for one of their people, or building official, or whatever. 2 would be going to surplus sale, they're not usable anymore. And 2 would be moving to the detail fleet. They're not able to be on the front line anymore. So we can, like a couple of our detective cars are old Crown Vics. We have old excess surplus lights that we could put on, spend a couple $100 in decals, and that car can now go sit at a construction site and keep the cycle going.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other comment? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Minutes of the previous meeting resolved that the minutes of the August 28, 2018 special meeting and September 4th, 2018 town council meeting are hereby accepted.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda, license applications resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed of or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Consent agenda correspondence, resolved that the consent agenda having been posted, all matters being referred to proper departments and being disposed or awaiting recommendation, the same is hereby approved.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, any discussion? Any public discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Authorization to mediate the matter known as JNNS 1272 Main Street LLC 5 Lehigh Realty et al. Case number KC 2016-1222, resolved that the town council hereby authorizes Honorable Justice Richard Licks to mediate a litigation known as JNNS 1272 Main Street LLC versus Lehigh Realty et al. Case number KC 2016-1222.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Moved and seconded, discussion.
Yeah,
Tara, you want to
What
just
is
give-
this?
That's
Yeah.
Get an explanation.
This is a
Hold on.
litigation matter that's been going on since 2016. The last time we appeared before Judge Leach, the plaintiff asked if we could mediate the matter. What this is it's a non-binding mediation. The parties go with the assistance of a judge, in this case, through the courthouse, and we try to resolve the matter without any further
Yeah, but
litigation.
what's the matter?
It's I believe it's a real estate matter. It has to do with licensing. It's probably something that needs to be discussed in executive session as far as the discussion of litigation goes.
Well, I'm not gonna authorize this unless I know what I'm authorizing. I don't even know what the case is about. That's my opinion. This is the first I heard of this.
Just vaguely, but not enough to bring it forward as to
Motion to table.
specifics.
Okay.
I'll second.
I second.
Motion to table, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Upcoming appointments, Sewer Use Tax Board of Review, one alternate member with a term to expire 10/2021. West Warwick Public Library Trustees, one term to expire 2/2019. Board of Tenant Affairs, one term to expire 3/2020. Public, one to expire 4/2020. Public, one to expire 4/2020. Clyde Towers, one to expire 4/2020. West Warwick Manor, one to expire 8/2020. West Warwick Manor. Zoning Board of Review, one alternate member with term to expire 7/2020 and one term to expire 7/2020. Arctic Development Commission, one term to expire 10/1/18. West Warwick Housing Authority, one term to expire 11/2018. Public comment. Comments will only be addressed to the town council, who will take them under advisement. When addressing the town council, please state your name and address. Please conduct yourself in an orderly and respectful fashion. The comments of citizens assessing this portion of our meeting are neither adopted nor endorsed by this body, but heard as requested.
Any public comment from the council?
I have, Major, I spoke to you while we were going at 9/11, and my phone hasn't stopped ringing with these cars that are parking on Providence Street. Now I'm getting calls from the Manor, Westcott Manor, with wheelchairs. These cars are parking all the way on the sidewalk. I don't know why. It's never happened before, except for the past 2 months.
What happened was, there's been a few accidents over there where mirrors have been torn off or...
Well, that's their
No,
problem.
I
There's
totally
there's a
understand.
law not parking on the sidewalk.
No, I understand. I've gotten the same, because, Angel, you got one side of Royal Mills, I got the other. The parking's not happening on my side, but there are residents on my side who park over there, and it is happening. They had sideswipe a couple of times there, and they've had a couple of mirrors torn off, so.
I believe they've had 3 crashes, and fortunately all minor, in that area since the start of this year. As I did mention in the email that I sent on our weekend activity, they did do some enforcement there. I think 7 vehicles were ticketed, and I think 4 more were given warning notices. The others had already previously gotten warning, so we'll monitor if we ticket a
Yeah,
car
just
more
keep
than
your eye on it,
twice,
because
we will try
I
to
understand
contact
where
you.
they're coming from, I understand where the park is at, but I mean, if we open that up, everybody's gonna say, well, my car got hit, so I parked on the sidewalk.
Right.
I mean, you know,
I mean, Bradford Soul has plenty of parking behind.
exactly.
If that's who they are. I mean, a lot
We
of
don't
the
know,
vehicles
but
from 185
I don't mind
Providence
giving,
Street are out of town registration. So
I
they're
don't
a little
mind,
harder to
I don't mind giving them warnings and warning them not to park, and if they do, then they get the ticket.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We'll take care of it.
Thank you.
Anything else from the council?
Yeah, I have a
Jay?
question. I wanted to ask this in the beginning, just for clarification. Attorney Fontaine, are you, do you work for Williamson Law?
Yes.
Okay. So if there's an issue, then could be tonight or whatever. Can we email you? Do we email Tim Williamson? How does that work at this point?
Whatever you communicate with Tim, I also receive. We work together on most matters involving the town. So if you want to email, you can include me in the emails,
Okay.
or Tim forwards the emails to me.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you.
I see Mr. Williamson is not here, but we have a contract with attorney Timothy A. Williamson, not Ms. Fontaine. Why is that Ms. Fontaine is here and Mr. Williamson's not?
I gave Mr. Williamson some time off.
And when are we gonna take care of this? This outburst, this constant outburst from this man. It's been promised that it's gonna be handled, gonna be handled, gonna be handled. Asking him to leave the meeting for one night is not handling it. The guy's a barbarian. He needs to be gone. He's a problem for this town. He lies to you. He prompts you to violate state law. He prompts you to violate your own contract. And you still cannot answer and tell me, yes, he lied to us. Yes, he prompted us to violate our own contract.
Thank
And
you.
I get dead silence.
So thank you, Tom.
No,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
just want to bring up one thing. Last conversation we had, David, you said that we were going to go into executive session with the council to address this. And the reason why I didn't put it on, it was too late at the 11th hour, was I thought that you were putting it on for the council to meet over the, whatever problem we have, what they have, and it was never brought out. So if it doesn't,
I sent you guys an email today of what I did over today.
yeah, well, that
As of
doesn't,
today.
we didn't meet in executive
didn't.
session
We
to
didn't have
discuss.
Again, we didn't have time.
Well, we had time, we could have made it for 6:30.
No, again, I did not have time.
Well, I want it on the agenda for
This has
next
been
month,
going
whether
on
it's
since
exact.
For a year. This, an act
I don't know
for
how,
years
wait a
has
minute,
been going
Tommy.
on.
I want it put on for the next agenda, whether it's executive session or public, it makes no difference to me.
Should be public.
I
I mean,
would-
he's publicly insulted the taxpayers of this town far too many times. And another question that I've asked 3, maybe 4 times, this will make 4, maybe 5 times. What is public comment? We come up, we ask questions, we make comments, and out the door it goes. Nothing is ever acted on, nothing ever comes up. I've asked questions time and time and time again. I asked you about the Class P license. I got nothing. I handed you yourself the law for the Class P. Mr. Williamson snatched it from your hand and said, this is nothing, and flung it on the table, and that was the end of that. Then it took to the last meeting where Mr. Al DiFiore put it on the agenda, was the same exact information, copied word for word, the same thing that I handed to you in February.
Mr. DiFiore wanted to put it on the agenda. I said, go ahead, put it on the agenda. I don't see any
And
need
what
for
did it prove? It says nowhere in that paperwork that if you have a Class P license, like he told you, you can violate any law, it supersedes any law, ordinance,
Tom,
or contract.
I answered that question to
No,
you.
you didn't.
I answered it to you directly, sir. I said, personally, I would have voted for that event to happen up there no matter what.
In violation of law and your contract.
What law are you talking about, Tom?
You can't have smoking on that property. I don't care
Well,
what.
you keep saying it's school property, we keep saying it's town property,
You can't, it says it on the contract.
and again, we
It says it on the
author...
Point of
contract.
order, point of order.
I'm not
We're
done.
really,
I'm
no,
not
wait.
done.
We are really off
I'm not
topic.
finished.
This is
Tom,
public
off.
comment.
Yes,
It
it
is
is.
specifically for comments. It's not a question and answer. It's to be
It's a
taken
comment.
under
Look
advisement.
the
And
word
Tom,
in
we
the
do listen to
dictionary.
you. We do listen to you, but now you're moving off to a whole nother subject.
No, it's
And now
the
we're
same
getting a
subject.
discussion
It goes
going.
on and on
Mr.
and
President,
on.
I
It's
don't
the
think we
same
should have a
subject.
discussion.
Well, first
That's
of all,
your opinion, and I'm not interested in
first
your
of all,
That's up to the
wait a
president.
minute. First of all, public comment is whatever they have on their mind to bring to this council. Whoever don't want to answer them, that's your prerogative. You don't have to answer them. Nobody has to answer him. But what he's saying, I understand. It gets pushed under the rug like everything else in this town gets pushed under the rug when they try and throw you a curveball where you forget about this and they threw you 10 other things to remember. They're just not forgetting. And I don't blame them. They should have an answer. They are taxpayers. They should have a legal answer, not an opinion, and end the story.
There's too much crap under the carpet now. You've got no room for any more. You need to take action on this. You should have took action, and for some sneaky feeling, I think he's going to tender his resignation. And if you accept it, you're all crazy. I wouldn't vote for any of you for anything. He should not resign. He should be terminated. And you people should fire him immediately. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Mary Young, 58 Pond Street. I don't have anything prepared to say, except that I'm wondering, the animal shelter has been closed, I believe, since August 24th, and I'm wondering if we have a contingency plan. And what anyone can tell me about what's going on.
Mrs. Young, I'll weigh in on that really quick. I found out the animal shelter was closed when a constituent who I've never spoken with before
Same as myself.
called me and asked me why. And I had no idea. I figured I'd have an email on it. So I went and checked my email. There was nothing. So it was a very awkward conversation calling back. I called Councilman Padula. I said, "Do you have any idea about the animal shelter? What's going on with it?" He says, "No." So the way she found out was through Facebook, which I'll be honest, this isn't the first time, and I can't speak for anybody else. I'm 20% of the council, but you know, everybody says that we should all work together up here, and I'm for that. I can work with anybody. However, I've been here for 2 years. I'm usually one of the last to know everything. So I think it's very upsetting that a town councilman does not know that a department in town is closed. And this isn't the first time. So I don't have an answer for you, and I apologize. But maybe somebody else does. And why we don't, I have no idea.
Well, yes. At the present time, the animal shelter is closed. We have 2 ACOs. Both of them are out at the present time. So we have no
They're always out.
ACOs to staff that. The animals are being diverted or taken by the Coventry Animal Shelter as our request, and we're very grateful for that. So to answer your question, at the present time, the full-time staff is not available. So,
And that's why I pushed for a facility manager.
Can I?
We should have received
Can I
some type
mention
of
one
email,
thing?
though, just to know
I
what was
understand.
going on. I mean, as far as the 2 ACOs being out, you know, I kind of knew it was closed just based on an assumption that it was closed because the ACOs were out, but we should have received some type of
Can I
email.
mention it? We did. What day did the shelter
Did you send
close?
an email?
We did. I see it. I'm looking back at my emails from Major Knott. He sent it on August 17th when he gave us the reports.
Wait, dude, really?
And at the bottom of it in yellow, it says our animal shelter has been closed to the public temporarily. and that was from August 17th. And at that point, it didn't say when it was going to reopen, but that was on August 17th. We did get a notification. That was the one sent to all of us, I believe. It
I
looks like
must have missed it.
So
it
the
is
answer-
sent to the entire town council on August 17th.
But
That's when I found out, and it was on Facebook probably 2 weeks later.
that it's closed because of lack of staff. And there are return dates, and we will wait and see. At the present time, I believe there were one, maybe two dogs that are still there. And we have a person that has been a former ACO that will come in and care for the animals that are there. So most of the animals have been diverted. There was one, maybe two. One may be leaving for some other organization to help with its adoption. But that's the simple answer. The staff is not available.
Mayor, just an update, as I was leaving today, both dogs that were there have been sent out there under rescue leads out for adoption now. So
Okay.
there are no animals there now. DPW worker will be there tomorrow morning to clean up after them, and then we'll be seeing what happens following up with our personnel issues.
Thank you.
moving forward.
Thank you.
I guess, I'm just gonna follow on Oaks a little bit, that, I spent 10 months of my life, feels that way anyway, trying to be helpful. I've addressed you on numerous occasions, I've sent emails, met with the town manager a couple of times, with Joe Levitt and Dennis Favela. 10 months is a long time for no progress with the issues there. One of the things I wanted to ask about tonight is the fence. From talking with others, I had an understanding that the fence was going to be done in the fall. It's fall now. I can offer you some suggestions. The individual from DPW who is an ACO, is it possible to move that person temporarily, according to the contract, not more than 90 days, so that the shelter can be open? And then we wouldn't find, like Melvin, 1 February, tied to the fence, left in the middle of the night, in deplorable condition. Or you won't find that box of kittens outside the gate. Well, how long are they gonna be there now? We either gonna put our money where our mouth is, or put our heart where our mouth is. You know, we're trying to offer solutions. I guess it's ironic, Joan told me today that, the agreement that was supposed to be developed since March was finally approved by all of the parties with how the West Warwick Angels will relate to the shelter. Except there's no shelter to relate to.
Well, again, the town manager had to make a decision along with Major Knott on how to handle that at this time. And if you look at DPW over the summer, they were shorthanded. They actually, and again, that's their busiest time. So they had to make a decision, and they've reached out to Coventry to temporarily cover West Warwick. And unfortunately, we can't dictate that 2 employees are both out right now.
But do we have an agreement with Coventry at some point that they're gonna start billing the town for their services?
That's a question for Ernie, I do not know.
I'd like to see it come on the agenda so we can have a fair discussion, the issues can be aired. Be it in executive session or public, I prefer public.
Well, the employee matters, we can't really talk about.
I understand that. I really understand everything you've got going on.
Thank you. Ernie, you've met with these groups, and I mean, is it feasible that they do meet with the town council to discuss this, or is this something you have handled or addressed?
Well, the operation of the shelter, I mean, the structure of the shelter, I mean, it is what it is right now. You have the two positions there. I think there are solutions, to organization structure of it. I mean, if we were to say, there are many ways that a shelter can be structured. The way it currently
Let me
is.
put it to you this way. I've been here 12 years. Angela's been here 12 years. We always had one ACO officer for many years.
Right.
And we experienced very little to no problems.
Right.
Then a few years ago, when Chief Silver was here, we authorized a part-timer, then we authorized another full-timer, and now we
Nothing
put
but
more
problems.
employees in, nothing but problems. So,
Let's
I'm
take it
having-
out, take it out. Let the volunteers run it. Allow them some money to run it.
probably
Why
about
do
right,
we
yeah.
have to have any help at all there? I'm sure that, and I know the people I talk to, and they come down my lounge, they're willing to spend 8 hours a day on shifts to be with the dogs, even a third shift to babysit them and sing to them. So, I mean, there's no excuse for this. And like you said, we've never had a problem before. There was more animals around. Of course, even the major was gonna pick up a dead animal in front of, on Wakefield Street that the kids were seeing at the crosswalks. That's baloney.
Again, part of this, the structure is dictated by, again, how our agreement, our union contract is.
Eliminate
Now,
the job.
Well, you talk about what elimination of a job comes usually within the budget process. Well, you can eliminate a job, then there's bumping rights people have to go into other departments. You mentioned having some organizational run it. Well, that's prohibited right now because of the union contract. We can't do that. So there are many options to run an efficient organization, operation. But with that, there are certain restrictions. It was mentioned, so at this point, so, we're operating within the restrictions that we have. But I understand the comment that you made. Is the staffing too much? Is it? But again, as I said, this is what. Oh, I understand. Oh, I understand. I understand the. I've had numerous meetings, and I agree with much of what is discussed at our meetings. And ultimately, what we want is an operation that is well-run, and the animals are well taken care of, and they're adopted out to families, or if they're not adopted out, they can go to places where they are. And that's what our goal is, and that will always be our goal. And right now, we have some restrictions on how we operate. And that's something that we are cognizant of. And it's, as I said, it's hard to say much more. I mean, I have different ideas, but at this point, I can't implement them.
I just think moving forward, if we have one person, two people, three people down there that are town employees, we have to take into effect that they're gonna get vacation time. They're gonna be sick, they may be hurt, and they may be out for other reasons. But if they're out for the same amount of time, or at the same time, as in this case, the animal shelter's closed. So how do we plan for this? We have to plan for this to happen again. With the limited staff we have employed down there, it's inevitable this isn't gonna happen.
Okay,
It's almost shocking that it hasn't happened
We
before.
have two full-time positions. We also have individuals within the town employ that are trained ACOs in the past. And that's what's happening right now when we were closed and had the one dog there. Person came in, 4 hours, took care of the dog, clean, feed, and did some things at the shelter, spruce it up, fix things that were broken. Now, you mentioned moving another person there temporarily. Well, the person that would probably go is instrumental in another department. That department would be at a severe disadvantage if that individual left, because it's a person that is only one person does that job. So bringing on somebody even temporary, because when you have someone qualified, it goes upon seniority. So if you have 2 or 3 people who are eligible goes to seniority. And if the senior person is in a position that is instrumental for another department, how do you do that and without adversely affecting the other department? So again, these are all things that are restrictions that we have to operate the way I think we all want to operate. So, and they have to be looked at and changed at the appropriate times.
I just wanted to add, with regard to the bumping procedure, that as of January 1st, 2019, ACOs have to be certified, so that's gonna...
No, what he meant by bumper procedure, if you eliminate those two positions, where they are in the union and time and service and all that, they stop bumping people out of here and everywhere else. It has nothing to do with them whatsoever, that position. It's where they go if they want to go to another position. So in other words, if they want to come up here, let's say one has 15 years of service and somebody up here has 10 years of service, they can possibly bump that person. And there's rules because it goes by classifications, but they could bump that person. So now, just because you said eliminate those positions, those two people might not be the ones eliminated. It could be two other people. So again, that's something we need to talk about.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy funding, 14 Plaza Street. It's more of a question. I was told that I had to appear before the council tonight before I could open my business on Main Street, up to the public, and I think I missed it because...
You were under licenses.
Okay.
License applications.
Were they just all
Did you shut yours down?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were approved towards the end.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That was all.
I was gonna say,
Oh,
what was the name of the business, sir?
Familiar Spirits?
Yeah, that was on.
Yep, it definitely was.
Thank you.
Keep this short, Richard Gould, Pike Street. So I'm gonna reiterate some of what Tom had, and also some of what Councilman Padula stated. In prior meetings, I believe it was the last meeting, the council president stated that he would discuss the appointment of the town solicitor. I see nothing on the agenda to discuss this matter. With the continued disrespect and outbursts the solicitor has, when will it be enough? And when will it stop? And when will you take action? And not action of asking him to leave for a few meetings until after an election.
Which it has nothing to do with the election.
Let me finish, I didn't interrupt you. An action of when this will stop. It's been time after time. He had an outburst, he had a second outburst, came in, you addressed it. He didn't apologize, you apologized for his actions. Last meeting, he did it again. So now you send him home. Is he home paid right now? Because his law firm's still gonna get paid because this miss is sitting here. So he's still getting paid, so send me on vacation paid. I wanna know when it's gonna be here. Angelo took care of it, thanks, good job, Councilman. It's gonna be on the agenda. The weeds in Arctic, notice the plants are nice, but they're really long. If the councilman in charge of that area wasn't on Facebook, he'd realize if somebody pulls them and that planter drops, it's gonna be a liability. They're almost directly to the ground.
Excuse me, are you talking about the new planters?
Yeah,
All right,
they're really nice,
so
and they
I
look good.
will definitely reach out to the Arctic Village Association and
Very
let them
long,
know.
Some almost directly to the ground.
I'll call them tomorrow.
This is no dig, quote unquote, onto Lori, but I would ask the council to stop adding things to her plate. I've had some talks with Lori. How much can one person do and do them all at 100%? Some things are gonna start to slack, whether it's the marketing, because her job description was changed, or whether it's running the facility, and now she's being asked to be in charge of the 5K race. My other question is, can we guarantee this stuff isn't being done on town time? That the town isn't paying her to run Councilman Messier's 5K race, which is a great thing, I'm not knocking it. Someone outside of a town employment should be liable for those things. If he wants to get people to volunteer, do it on your time, not on the town's time.
It's not my 5K race, it's the town's
You're
5K
sponsoring it,
race.
correct?
It's the
You
town's
brought it up,
5K
you
race.
sponsored it on the agenda, you promoted it on Facebook, it's under you.
It's to raise money
I
for the
would
Providence
ask that
Center, so
our
it's,
website, which is great, I'm not knocking the 5K at all. Look, if I could run a little bit, I would join it.
it's
All
not,
I'm
it's a
saying
walk, so you don't
is
have to
I
be able to
would
run.
Stop asking Lori to handle all this. She does what she does.
not one person can do so much 100%. I would ask that our website, I know this was mentioned in the past, the font really needs to be changed. It's very difficult to read. It's all, in large, uncomfortable ways to read it.
Can I address the point?
Of course you can, sir.
Lori's our marketing director of the Civic Center, correct?
I don't know, our job
Yes.
description was changed, right?
Well, she's the marketing director.
Mm-hmm.
12, well, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but $12,000 of that, of the assistant DPW director's salary comes out of the Civic Center, correct? So has a role in there as well to, I would say, handle the facility aspect of it. Am I, yes, no?
Yeah.
So not everything should be dumped on Lori. She should be in charge of the marketing. She should be in charge of the marketing, 100% of the marketing for those 2 buildings. Everything else, I'm not considering her being a part of. That should be, if not the assistant DPW, the DPW director.
And again,
Just so that she can focus on what she's
well,
doing. and
again,
doing the best
Right,
for the
no,
building.
I know,
That's all. It's not a dig at her.
yeah,
early
you can't spread
tonight,
anybody too thin, I hear you.
but earlier tonight, somebody talked about a town calendar.
Mhm.
And I said, don't put it on her,
I was getting that.
okay? But the 5K, I don't know if that's something she personally volunteered for. If somebody wants to volunteer out of town time
Which is fine.
or whatever,
Can guarantee
but you
we're
can't,
not
but
paying
I
for it?
can't, Richard, I can't sit there and say, Mr. Zimmerlinski, you can't volunteer after town time.
Volunteering for a town council member, can you guarantee me that we're not paying her to do it?
She
No,
doesn't.
you can't, because you don't know,
Conflict of interest, is all I'm stating.
Okay, if you think so.
Conflict how? Could you clarify that?
Yeah, how do you,
Can you guarantee me that we're not paying her to do it?
But that's like any town event. I mean, that could go for the Halloween event, the Easter egg hunt, the 5K, right? I mean, there's no.
Guarantee me that we're not paying her to do that work on town
What's
property.
different about those 2 events,
It's a
though?
simple question, it's a yes or no question. You can't.
Yep.
Is there a difference?
I can address mine.
She
I
could probably
can't
address
address
that for
yours.
us,
Do
'cause-
When I applied to use the field house, felt just like anybody else would. I've shown it to Ernie. I've checked with the Ethics Commission to make sure that I'm able to do this. I don't have any money exchanging hands.
And there is
But
money exchange.
I don't know, not, I'm speaking about what I've done. I've gone to Lori, I filled the proper paperwork. If I filled it out wrong, she comes to me just like a renter would. I've double checked everything with Ernie. Again, and when I've asked for like league participation in the past, whether it be an egg hunt or the Halloween party, Lori was there to represent the, at one point girls softball, and at one point the summer program. So at that point, if there's an issue whether she's getting paid or not, that's she has to go to her boss with that, her immediate supervisor. So, but the invitation was always there. But when we got there, it was very clear, I got it. And we have a staff person there that is paid to help set up tables, help take out trash, clean up a spill, at each one of the events that was over there. And most of you, 3 of you have been there for these events. So you can corroborate there was a staff person there. As far as I'm concerned, I don't really want Lori for anything, except I've already gone to you. If you're here to represent the summer camp and plug the summer camp, then that's it. I'm leaving you alone. If she wants to do something else, that's up to her.
One more thing I forgot to mention on the bins, I think we should add something in there, there should be a restricted number. I did speak to him outside of the hall, if they will be only in business districts. Does that mean we can have one on every corner?
No.
So I just think, just a mental note, there should be something in there that's listed as the, only can have X amount of number of them.
I personally think with the $300 fee, I think you probably won't have that happen. But
Just in case.
but it comes before us. So if the council decides there's too many, we can just say there's no more
But
bins.
let's not wait like we're waiting for the, the sliding fee scales, let's not wait for this and wait for that. If we're already dealing with it, let's just deal with it all at one time. It just makes sense to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the button doesn't work. Alan Palazzo, 5 Robin Lane, West Warwick, and a couple of points of order. I reviewed the minutes, or should I say the tape of the last meeting, specifically at 2 points. One was about 2 hours and 20 minutes into the meeting, at which point I asked about the invoices for the town solicitor. Were they up to date? And at that point, Mr. Goslin referred to the town manager. Mr. Williamson jumped in and said, yes, they're all up to date. Later on, about the 3 hour and 39-minute point, Mr. Reed came up here and asked a question with regard to Mr. Williamson. Mr. Goslin, for the record, stated, I asked the town manager to answer that question, or correction, I asked, since the finance director was missing, I asked Mr. Williamson to answer, when in fact he did not. He asked the town manager, Mr. Williamson interjected. That's point one.
I actually reached over to him and said, are your bills paid?
No. You asked
But again, I asked him, because she was
him
not here.
before you reached over.
and I
Excuse
also
me,
said,
David, you're on tape. Okay?
I also said
No,
to him-
you're on tape of that incident. And Mr. Williamson jumped in halfway across the table. Okay, that's point one. Point two, with regard to Ms. Fontaine here today, I believe the contract, I just glanced at it cursory look, and it said the contract was with Mr. Williamson. There was a previous ethics opinion requested, whether or not the previous town solicitor, Inman and Torgy, would be allowed. Would someone, Mr. Williamson, be allowed to represent them? I think there's a big difference between having an attorney here who works for that law firm and not on the contract being here. Who authorized that? You're again violating your own contract because you have a contract with Mr. Williamson who's not here, but you have someone from his law firm that is not on the contract here. And I have a question. I mean, we just pull things out of the sky and say, oh, it fits, we need it, we'll take care of it. I mean, it was brought up before. We do things ad hoc. There's no basis for it. I mean, I just happened to have seen that ethics opinion when I was researching something else, and the name Inman and Torgy jumped out at me. Not Inman, Torgy, and Williamson, which it later became, but that too. And that was covered. Totally legal. What are you doing here? That's a major issue. And oh, by the way, during that same meeting at 3-minute and 39 mark, Mr. Goslin went on record and said that Mr. Williamson would have a right to address the council, either executive session or open meeting, quote, within the next 4 weeks. The next 4 weeks is up on, I believe, 2 October. So, and we keep seeing this thing about, oh, meetings, we can't get it on the meetings. All you have to do is provide the Secretary of State's office 48 hours notice of a meeting. There's only 5 of you and Mr. Williamson. I'm sure you could arrange either a public meeting or an executive session meeting on a short notice in excess of 48 hours. That's it. I mean, it's not that hard. But over and over again, these people have addressed this council, and you take it under advisement. And to me, taking it under advisement, as I think Tom pointed out, is essentially sweeping it under the carpet. So it's the way it is. You want to go on record, you're on tape. That's the official record under the Access to Public Records Act statement, the law. It's not just what she's putting down. It's this videotape. It's the tape of the meeting. So you can say all you want, obfuscate, cover things up, but the record is the record. And that's why I keep coming up here, subject to abuse, denigration, but it's on the record, and you can go back. And that's all I have to say.
Last comment on this subject, and I know it's being taken under advisement. Just curious, who wrote Mr. Williamson's contract?
Ernie, can you answer that?
It started with the interim town manager, and I picked it up. So the final product I wrote.
So you wrote this contract?
Yes.
Out of respect for you, I won't go into the conversation I had with a good friend who was a judge. We sat down over coffee, just chewing the fat on a number of different things. And she thought this very first sentence was rather wild for a town solicitor. Thank you.
Gentlemen, you don't get to see me very often. But for the record, my name is Derek Reed, 62 Andrews Ave. I'm also known as Cubby from the Pomp Ass that sits there usually, okay? Let's just let you know. Okay, I have some concerns, I have some comments, I have some questions about the current situations at hand with the solicitor. And just for your information, according to Rhode Island General Law, Chapter 42, 46, 6, subparagraph D, which in summary states that nothing prohibits a public body from responding to public comment at a public meeting. So hopefully I will get some, if not all of my questions answered tonight. Okay? That's state law. That's not town charter. Okay? Mr. President, could you please enlighten me on why Mr. Williamson's not here tonight?
I asked him not to come.
For what purpose?
Well, first of all, he was at a wedding all weekend. Second of all,
I was in Nashville all weekend, so
I asked him not to
it's still
come.
coming out. So what's,
Until the council can discuss what we're gonna do, I
That's-
asked him not to come.
that's more like the answer. We're not worried about the wedding he's at. Correct? Okay. Mr. President, could you please tell me why you stated at the September 4th meeting that the executive session and/or discussion was to be scheduled for this evening, and it's not?
I didn't say evening, I said 4 weeks,
Well,
which was 2 weeks ago.
no?
You listen to the tape, that did say 4
Okay.
weeks, because Mr. Palazzo said 4 weeks.
I will back him up on that one. He
Okay.
said within the next 4 weeks.
So we'll be looking forward to the next one.
Which will be 2 weeks from now.
Okay. Do you believe that the solicitor has done nothing wrong in the last few months while these meetings are going on?
Do I believe the solicitor has, and I believe the public has?
Public has nothing to do with it. He's a town official. Correct? We have freedom of speech. And I,
Mr. Reed, but I'll get into.
and I'm
the
exercising my
details.
right. Thank you very much.
You are exercising your right, but you're
Okay.
also in litigation with the town.
I don't care if I'm litigation. I got questions for you because you hire him. He has his behavior. You have control over him. You weren't going to send him out unless I stood up and my father stood up last week. Oh, yeah. And then you say in a hallway that he excused himself. No, you told him to leave.
I excuse.
It's on record
Okay.
what you said because the cameras rolled after the meeting. Okay? So that's what you said to somebody over here.
Listen to him too, Derek.
Okay.
I know what I said.
Okay. Apparently you don't because he brought it up to you and you didn't
Did I excuse him,
say
Mr.
what he
Palazzo?
said.
You asked him to leave.
Okay.
Big difference.
He stayed in the office over there. He didn't leave the building. He should have left the building. Right or wrong? If I get out of control right now, are you going to ask the chief to take me out of the building or you ask him to take me in the office?
Derek, I asked him to leave the chambers.
Okay. So why did he hang out in the
He
office
could
over
have
there?
went on that side and been a resident.
He should have. No problem. Okay? Do you believe that it is in the council's best interest to continue to have Mr. Williamson contracted as town solicitor after these concerning outbursts, disrespect, name-calling of taxpayers, yes or no?
That's up to the council. I'm one vote.
I'm asking you because I believe my question says Mr. President.
And again, I said I'm one vote.
So what's your vote?
I don't know.
You'll keep him here until after the election. I understand. I get it.
I'd like to make another point of interest. Should we be discussing a town employee without this on the agenda?
No, I'm discussing this. I'm discussing this because I was one of the ones that he had a direct comment to.
But what you're doing is we're forming a discussion that would be in violation.
No, it's
of
not
the
in violation of
agenda.
Rhode Island general
If
law.
we form a discussion, it is.
It's not according to the Rhode Island General Law 42, 46, 6, subparagraph D. Okay? Listen, I was called a name by him, okay? I am defending myself at this very moment. If you don't want to listen to it, you can leave,
Excuse me.
okay? Simple.
You have the
You
right
work
to
for me.
ask.
Thank you.
No, I don't
Okay?
work for you,
I'm gonna,
actually.
you're not president, you're vice president. I'm talking to David. Thank you.
I think it's inappropriate.
Mr. President, could you please inform me if in fact the town solicitor position did go out for bid as Rhode Island General Law, Chapter 37-218, competitive field bidding requires? And if so, could you please provide me with a copy of the RFP as well as any other bids received? And I will be looking to receive such documents within 7 days, or if I gotta file an open records request, I will.
You can do that.
Okay, I'll do that. Couple more. Mr. President, could you please tell me if the contract is between the town of Timothy Williamson Esquire, or is it between the town and Timothy Williamson personally?
Let me answer that, Mr. I don't have the contract in front of me.
I believe it is with the Timothy Williams directly,
Okay, so
not the firm.
how do we have Tara Fontaine here? She works for him. In the Esquire, not for Timothy Williamson. Maybe she does, I don't know. Okay? Smile. We're gonna keep going.
Get a motion to adjourn.
Miss, no.
Can I have a kind of a point of order? I believe this section that you're referring to doesn't prevent the council, but they don't have to respond to questions. They're not required to.
Well, you got a computer. Look up the Rhode Island General Law, please. I'll continue. Mr. President,
They don't have to respond.
I got a question for you, so just wait. Mr. President, are you aware that your town solicitor has advised me to file an official complaint with the AG's office because, in his words, most town council meetings violate Open Meetings Act? I can go back 13 years at $6,000 apiece. Do you know he told me that? Okay, but I'll do that. Listen, I grew up in this town. You all know that. I do a lot in this town. But you think you're gonna run me into the ground, it ain't gonna happen. Okay? Okay, because I got a good teacher back there. Okay. This question is for the council before me right now. Do you think that a full-time employed lawyer is more cost-effective to the town? Because based on my calculations, it seems to suggest that. You don't have to answer me, but it's a question to think about. Number 9, Ernie, has any action been taken on your part to improve this town's building inspections and enforcement as you promised in past meetings, or are we still issuing permits after the fact? I got the answer. Just ask. No? Okay. Well, I thank you guys for this opportunity to speak my questions without being rudely interrupted by the pompous-ass solicitor. Enjoy your night. And by the way, this will not blow over.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Have a good night.
Yes, I will.